So let's come to sit up nice and tall. I'm sitting on a cushion, but you could sit on a chair, of course. Any comfortable position with the legs. And then placing one hand on the tummy, one hand on the ribs, or two hands on the ribs. I'm going to breathe into the hands and let the breath leave the body. Nice big inhales, softening the body as you exhale. And just noticing if you can really expand the ribs on your inhale. So feel the hands moving apart from one another. Just a couple more. Just focusing your mind in on the breath. And if you can, add in the pelvic floor lifts here. So as you exhale, pick up your pelvic floor and think about drawing it up and inside of you. And as you inhale, release and relax it all down. So think of it doming up and in as you exhale. And inhale, allow the sitting bones to release away from one another so that you're fully relaxing. And the breath will help you. So just let it help you. Exhaling to lift. Inhaling to release. So just keep breathing. Keep lifting that pelvic floor and releasing. And if you can, take a little pause at the top and at the bottom of the breath. Then you can do that as well. And then let's stop that. Take your hands to your knees. Just shrug your shoulders up, circle them and slide them away from your ears. Just a few shoulder shrugs, just to release any tension in your shoulders. You can inhale as you lift the shoulders up, and exhale as you release them. And just take a little neck stretch. Take your left ear to your left shoulder. And just breathe into the opposite side. Lifting the head, taking right ear to right shoulder. And breathing into the left side. Just taking the head forwards, allowing the back of the neck to stretch and just curving down, allowing the spine to relax. Lifting back up nice and tall and repeating. So just sort of crumpling down and then sitting back up nice and tall. Curving the spine, relaxing the shoulders. Head goes last. And sitting up nice and tall. Inhale. Come up to sit. And come off whatever you were sitting on. I'm going to come onto our hands and our knees to begin with. Hands underneath the shoulders and knees underneath the hips. You're going to find a little bit of movement through the spine. Curving the spine up towards the sky, pulling your tummy in and relaxing the head. And then lengthening your breastbone forwards and your tailbone up and back. So just like the movement that we did sitting, allowing the head to release and allowing the spine to move in the opposite direction. Final couple cat and cows here. And then you're going to find a position between those two extreme points of movement of the spine. Back of the pelvis nice and flat, and tummy pulling up and away from the floor. And then once you feel stable, you're going to reach opposite arm and leg away from one another, and then slide them back underneath you. So the body stays still, the arm and leg reach away from one another, and then they slide back under. Keep supporting the weight of your body in the opposite arm and the leg. Keep your tummy pulling up and away from the floor. Try to minimize any wobbling through the body. Really point through those toes as you reach them back. If it's a little bit too much here to keep the body still, then you don't need to lift the leg. You could keep the leg sliding along the floor. A few more, exhaling as you reach away, and inhaling as you pull them back underneath you. Keep your eye gaze slightly forwards on the floor. And then come off your wrists. Place the cushion between your knees. Come back onto your hands and your knees. Tuck the toes underneath you. So you're going to make the back of the pelvis nice and flat, like you could rest a cup of tea on there. Pull your tummy up and away from the floor. You're going to squeeze the cushion and release. Okay, squeeze the cushion, pick up your belly, and inhale, release. And as you do this, you're trying to also lift your pelvic floor. So as you squeeze the cushion, see if you can squeeze and lift your pelvic floor. And as you inhale the cushion, inhale and release the pelvic floor. So coordinating engagement of the inner thighs with engagement of the pelvic floor. It looks like we're doing nothing, but we're working hard inside. Okay, and if it feels right to you today, you can squeeze the cushion, hover and lift the knees off the floor. Keep the shape of the spine the same and then lower the knees back down. Squeeze the cushion, pick it up, lower back down. Squeeze and lift, lower and release. Stay nice and strong with those arms. Holding this last one if you can. And then coming down, coming off the wrists. Moving that cushion out the way and then just shake the wrists out. We're going to roll the wrists around, anything that feels good. And then place the back of the hands on the floor. So we're stretching out a little bit of the forearm as well. The more weight you place through those hands, the more intense the stretch. So you're in charge of how much stretch you need. And coming off those wrists, scooch the legs forwards and come to lie down onto your back. We're going to take the pillow, the cushion, and place it between our knees again. Place the feet onto the floor and place your hands onto your tummy. So just feel as you squeeze the cushion that you can lift the pelvic floor up and in. And as you release the cushion, you release the pelvic floor. So squeezing and lifting, and you'll feel the lower abdominals engage, and inhale, release. You can add a little tilt of the pelvis now. So as you squeeze, you tilt and lift the pelvis a little bit, and you inhale, release the tailbone back down. So little baby ones to begin with, just allowing the hips to roll forwards towards the ribs and release. Squeezing the cushion, using the inner thighs, using the pelvic floor and releasing. So just coordinating this squeeze and lift of the pelvic floor with a little lift, a little higher lift of the pelvis now. And you can place the hands on the floor if that's more helpful. as you come up a little bit higher. You can play around a little bit by coming up to the lower back or coming up to the middle back, as long as it feels nice on your lower back. Don't forget to squeeze the cushion. Maybe coming all the way up now. But at the top, the hips are the highest. Your lower ribs are pulling down towards the floor. And you're just sitting between your shoulder blades. You're moving up and down through these movements of the spine at your own pace. And you don't have to come up all the way. You might want to just keep it small today. Squeezing the cushion as you come up. Keep the knees reaching forwards. And inhale and release as you come down. Really press down into the feet, lift the hips up. And soften through the spine. You're working on a sequential movement of the spine. Make sure that you're not sort of resting on your neck. You really are just between your shoulder blades. If you're at the highest point. I'm going to come up now, hold 10 little squeezes of the cushion. Rolling back down. Take a break. Rolling back up. 10 little squeezes of the cushion. Repeating. Coming back down. Release the cushion. And just hug the knees in towards the chest. Moving from side to side if it feels good to you, otherwise just stay still. And then when you're ready, placing the feet back down to the floor and place the cushion now underneath the pelvis. Place your hands onto your hips so that you can just feel where the pelvis is in space, and then bring the hands above your chest, bringing your right leg up towards the sky in a 90-degree angle, and then just moving the right leg out to the side. So you're keeping your body nice and still. Your arms are staying above your chest, and only your right leg is opening out, and that movement's coming from the hip. So keeping the hips nice and still. Try to not leave your foot behind in the middle to counterbalance. So just have a look at your foot, make sure it's moving in line with your knee. Keeping the arms up towards the sky, but the shoulders soft down on the floor. Nice and strong in the body. If it's going well, if you're finding that you can keep strong and stable, then you can add in the opposite arm, moving in the opposite direction. So as your right leg opens out to the right, your left arm can open out to the left. And you still breathe. And you're just paying attention to your body. Coming back to center, right leg down, and the left leg will do the same thing. Okay, so the pelvis stays nice and still. The body stays heavy, connected to the floor. And the left leg will open and close. If it's going okay, in a moment we'll add in the opposite arm. And it's not about how far open you can get the leg, it's about keeping nice and strong and stable in the center of the body. So moving parts of our body that we want to move and keeping the parts of the body that we want to be still, with control of our body. Coordinating the movement of the arm and leg if that's available to you today. And keeping your breath going. Placing arms and legs back down to the floor now. And then draw both legs up above your hips in a tabletop position. Arms alongside your body. And you're going to tap your right toes towards the floor. Now I'm going to start very small here, so my main focus is keeping the pelvis still. I'm going to exhale, tap the toes towards the floor, but my aim is not just to reach the floor. It's about keeping the body still and making sure that there's no pressure or overload of the lower back. Okay, so if it feels like it's going into your lower back or you can't keep the hips still, you keep this a very small movement. Otherwise, you keep the angle of the knee and you tap the toes down towards the floor. So you make sure that the back of the calf and the back of the thigh don't touch. You're thinking up and over a little mini fire that's underneath your knee as you come down. That makes sense? Exhaling as the toe taps down and inhaling as it comes back up. Nice and controlled and measured. Just last one. Then hug your knees in towards your chest again. And with the pelvis onto the cushion, you might feel an extra stretch in your lower back. Keep one leg hugged in and then lengthen the opposite leg along the floor, just to stretch out through the front of that hip. Switching the legs over. And then hug both knees back in towards your chest. Feet down, come off of the pillow. Rolling on up and over onto your tummy now. And we're going to make a little W with your arms. So the hands will be in line with the ears, but they'll be off the mat. And the legs will be quite wide, about as wide as the mat. They'll be slightly turned out, so toes will face out and the heels will face in. You're going to roll yourself forwards and up with the upper body. And then coming straight back down. And at the top, when you've lifted your head and your upper body, your upper chest, up, you'll hover the hands off just to check that you're working through the back muscles. And then come back down. And once you've done that a couple times, if it feels good, then you'll keep the hands down and you will allow the body weight to press into the hands and lift up a little bit higher. But instead of thinking up, think of forwards with the body. So as you come up a little bit more sequentially, maybe a little bit higher each time, think of dragging the hands back towards your hips. So you're pulling the hands back in, and in response your spine is getting longer in the opposite direction. So your spine is going forwards and your hands are pulling back. Finishing that last one, sitting back towards your heels, coming into a little child's pose now and taking some time, taking your breath into the back body. Breathe, breathe, breathe into any parts of the body that have tension. Slowly coming up and coming to lie onto your side. So you'll need your cushion. You're going to extend your underneath leg in line with your body and then bend your top knee and bring it onto the cushion. You've got your head on your underneath hand. And what we're going to do is squeeze the cushion with our knee. And as we do that, we're going to exhale and squeeze and lift our pelvic floor. As we inhale, we release. Exhale, squeeze the cushion down as much as we can, pick up the pelvic floor. Inhale, release. It really does look like we're not doing anything here, but we are. And as we're kind of asymmetrical on the body, you may feel that one side of your pelvic floor is working harder than the other, and that's fine, that's normal. Just a couple more. Keep breathing. Okay. So move the cushion away, bending both knees, feet in line with the bottom, top hand onto your hip, and we're going to open and close the top knee. So the top hand on the hip is making sure that your hips aren't rolling back. So your tummy is pulling up and in a little bit. That top knee lifts and lowers. It's not about how open the knee can get, it's just about controlling the movement. Being aware of what wants to move, being aware of what you want to move and what you want to keep still. Last little oyster or two, if you can. And then we're going to roll back onto our tummies. We'll have a little break from the legs. Reaching both arms forwards about shoulder distance apart, and the legs will come to parallel. So we're going to keep the head down for this one for now. And you're going to hover opposite arm and leg off the floor. And you're lifting this arm and leg from the center of your body, and you're alternating arm and leg. So arm and leg come off and return. Nice and light. If these feel okay in your body and your neck isn't sore, you can take your head up, look forwards towards your hands, and continue lifting opposite arm and leg. The arm and leg aren't going to come up very high. They're just hovering off the floor. You're reaching them away from one another. And then they're lightly returning to the floor. Keep looking where you're going, so looking at your hands, or looking forwards of your hands. Last one, and then sitting back towards your heels into child's pose. Forehead to the floor. Allow your spine to curl in the opposite direction and find space in the back of the body. Staying here a few moments. And then we're going to come down and go on to the second side. So you're going to need your cushion. You're going to extend your underneath leg. You bend your top leg. Place the knee on the cushion. You're exhaling to squeeze the cushion down and squeeze and lift your pelvic floor. And inhaling to release. Exhale, squeeze the cushion. Inhale, release. So you have two sides, and you might find that one side is easier than the other. That's perfectly normal. And this is a sort of pelvic floor exercise you can do in bed. So squeeze in that cushion and squeeze in the pelvic floor. Thinking of that dome coming up and inside the body. Keep breathing. Finishing that, we're going to bend the knees, bring the feet in line with the bottom for our oysters. So the top hand is on the hip to make sure that we're not wobbling around. Top knee lifts and closes. And instead of thinking of the exercise is just lifting the knee, also try and resist the knee coming back down. So it's as if you've got a really big, thick elastic band around your legs. You're pressing the knee up and then squeezing, resisting the way down. The rest of the body stays still. Tummy stays just gently engaged up and in to keep your body still. Last one. And you're going to roll onto your back and take a little stretch. So take the leg you were just working, flex that foot over the opposite knee. And then if you want more stretch, you can pull that leg in towards you. If it's enough of a stretch with that foot on the floor, then just stay there. That's no problem. Another few moments here. Allowing that hip to release. If you want to intensify it, pull the leg in. And then switching sides. Okay, placing both feet to the floor, rolling up and coming to sit onto your heels. Shift yourself over towards the right, and then we're going to open up the legs into a little bit more of a spacious position. And take that top arm up and over, and then bend in the opposite direction. So right hand down, left arm up and overhead. And then going up and back in the opposite direction. Little mermaids. Coming up. Come back to sit onto your heels. It's the easiest way to switch. Shift yourself over towards the left and then open up your legs. Nuzzling that right knee into the foot. Coming up and over. Left hand down, right arm up and over. Lifting. Opposite direction. Last one. And then we're just going to make our way very, very slowly onto our backs. Take your feet nice and wide as the mat, and let the knees rest on one another in the middle. This is called constructive rest. And just place your hands onto your tummy. And just allow your mind to follow the breath in and out of the body. So you'll feel the hands lifting with the tummy as you inhale and lowering as you exhale. And you're just going to stay here as long as you can. Just taking a few brief moments for yourself to breathe and to be inside your body.